Hello everybody and welcome back to Rollin'-ish. My name is Matt, and in this video we are going to talk about our homebrewed deities in our homebrew world of Cerulia. If you haven't done so already, please feel free to check out our homebrew playlist and watch our videos on our top 10 homebrew rules that we use at our table, as well as the introduction to our homebrew world, Homebrew, Our World Cerulia. Thank you so much for checking this out. This is the type of video that I myself really would have liked to have had as a DM as I started to build out different lore and things about our world. I been through and went through a lot of the Pantheon and D&D, and I felt like there are a lot of great number of deities and minor deities that you can choose from. With an established lore behind those gods and what kind of story I wanted to tell, I just felt like it would probably be best to start from scratch versus try and take something that exists and tweak it to fit what I was trying to do. So in our homebrew world of Cerulia, there are essentially four major religions in the world. Faith is very important in the world of Cerulia, given its history and its creation by the gods. And those four main religions are as follows. First, you have the Celestial Accord. The Celestial Accord is a group of 24 solars, high-leveled angelic creatures. And the Zephyr is the name of the first and eldest solar created by the gods. He essentially is praised as the king of the heavens, and he judges over the other solars. He's like their leader. Even the gods need to go to Zephyr first before they create a new solar, and none have been approved to be created since the fall of the 25th solar, the banished one, Azazel. High priests who follow the Celestial Accord would recognize their sigil of a pure white angelic wing with a golden warhammer standing upright behind it. Zephyr sends messages to the high priests of the major faiths to keep the lines of communication open between the gods and mankind. Typically, solars will choose for themselves which deity they serve and represent. Currently, only 10 out of the 24 solars are pledged to a deity, while the other 14 are lying in wait and continuing their search. It could take millennia for them to choose. It is said that if you are good in nature and repent in prayer, that prayer could be answered by one of the solars if one is praying to them rather than praying to one of the gods. Believers can pray to any one of the solars based on their domain, kind of like saints, or go straight to Zephyr, who rules over all of them, as he may dismiss a request if he deems it too trivial. That's kind of the trade-off there. Outside of the Celestial Accord, who service the gods, so they're not so much a religion as they are an alternative option. So you might have heard even in your own life that somebody isn't religious, they're spiritual, or they're not quite sure what they believe directly, but they believe that there are gods and angels and things like that. They're just not sure what to call it. This kind of falls in line for those types of folks. They're spiritual people, they're religious people, but they're not quite sure they want to align to one particular sect or religion versus another. And that's for those who believe in the Celestial Accord. The three others are faiths of the particular gods. So the first is the Order of Amaris. Amaris is the god of the moons and is often depicted as a youthful, genderless child who is responsible for the distance of the moons Vega and Samir to their host planet Cerulia, their distance to one another, the rise and fall of each of these moons on the horizon, and the tides. That's what Amaris is responsible for. Many sailors and seafaring creatures thus worship Amaris, given they're bound to the tides. Clerics of the life and arcana domains, they predominantly follow her, with some nature domains also choosing her path as well. Her sigil is a singular breaking ocean wave under a purple field resembling dusk or dawn. It depends on your alignment as a follower. And with the yellow moon of Vega and the gray moon of Samir essentially visible at that dividing line in the night sky, as if they're one setting and the other is rising. Again, depending on your alignment is how you see that sigil. She appears before her believers in dreams, walking on ocean water or in deep meditation, wearing a flowing blue robe. She teaches new spells to mages in her order in these dreams or meditations. So how I treat learning new spells at level ups, it's not just a thing that you wake up and, oh, I know the spell now. You have to be taught that spell by a high level cleric or an archmage, or find the spell and study it over time, or in this case, have a dream or a meditation and encounter Amaris and she teaches you the spell. Then there's some skill checks involved for flavor, but it's just a nice way to spice up learning new spells. The next religion is called the Children of Midori. If you follow Midori, often referred to as the Earth Mother, who is the goddess of all things nature in Cerulia, you would call yourself a child of Midori. Many druids, farmers, and naturalists follow Midori. She's the caretaker of the earth, sky, and all plant life and creatures who dwell on Cerulia. She is said to appear before her followers as a walking plant covered in beautiful flowers with bark-like skin and emerald eyes. She may give her children gifts or boons of clairvoyance or visions for their loyalty and actions to preserve nature. So if they do good deeds, planting a tree, stopping plant life from being destroyed, she may give you a gift or boon. Her sigil is a field of blue over an equally sized field of green. In the middle where the two fields meet is an oak leaf over top of a palm leaf. Lastly, in the major religions is the Order of Cthulhu. Cthulhu is the god of discipline. He is said to appear to a creature in the form of what they find inspiring. To some, he could be a battle-hardened dwarf, and to others, he could be a bold lion. It varies on the beholder or the faithful person. The core tenet here is hard work. The blue-collared folks of Cerulia lean towards following Cthulhu as they believe that hard work and discipline will reap the blessings of Cthulhu. Because he favors dedication and hard work. Many paladins, monks, clerics of the forge, knowledge, or light domains follow him. Even lower class working folks follow Cthulhu. Cthulhu is for any creature that prides themselves on hard work and discipline, both in faith and action. He is said to give a believer the location of a magical item somewhere in the world as a quest, as one should work hard to earn such a boon. His sigil is an iron hammer striking an iron anvil over a circular field of orange. Now, the way that I came up with this stuff to give you a deep dive, I did two things. I asked questions that I would want to know as a player in this campaign about these gods and their believers and such. Then I answered them. So I thought about it from like, well, what would I want to know? If I'm playing a cleric or a paladin or a druid, what are some questions about the faith that I would know during my character creation process? If I'm going to be picking a deity, that's part of my process to be like, all right, what's this god all about? And what are its followers? What are they like? Right? So I just jotted down questions that I got from multiple resources, and I took those questions and answered them. And based off of that, I started to formulate how my gods are. So if you're out there and thinking about creating your own deities for your own homebrew world or campaign, this next part is for you because it really, really helped me. So hopefully it helps you. So I'm going to give you the questions I asked myself and also what I answered, so you can go from there and see where I'm coming from. So first, what does the average person think about the gods? Right? If the gods are known, and this is a world that's maybe 1400, 1500 years old, what have they been passed down from generation to generation, right? Well, faith is important in Cerulia given its history with the gods and its creation by the gods. Most believe in some sort of deity, with the four main religions being the most popular. Okay? What are the clergymen's services in the four main religions like? What do the clergy do? Those in the clergy perform various services, which include delivery of sermons, healing, restoration, prayer and or blessings, counsel, funeral or burial rites, wedding or union rites, birth delivery, exorcism, unbiased judgment over disputes among persons, lead in worship and or study, and they host vigils. Who are the founders of the four main faiths? Well, during the Age of Discovery, which is the current period of time in our world, our campaign, most races are only on their second or fourth generations of people, somewhere in that window. The first men of the many races have left behind tomes and scrolls documenting history and the tenets of their faith as depicted by their gods, who put them or created them to live on and populate Cerulia. Free will is a common core belief, almost a command expressed in these documents with the utmost importance. What do people think about the clergymen? So we had first, what do people think about the gods? What do the clergy do? What do people think about those clergy? Well, since faith is widely accepted and practiced in Cerulia, the clergy is viewed with respect and held in esteem. There are rare instances of zealousness or extremism, but for the most part, clergy is treated with respect even by those who don't follow a specific faith. How does religion fit into Cerulean society? Well, there is freedom of religion in Cerulia, as free will is held as the core belief of all creatures' rights. Religion is viewed positively. There are small cells of zealots and extremists in some faiths, and these sometimes leave a black eye on the reputation of said faith, but for the most part, they're easy to spot and dismiss as being extremists. How is religion expressed culturally? Well, because faith is so important in Cerulia, temples are often built as one of, if not the, largest buildings in each settlement. Oftentimes, temples house the elderly and or destitute in each settlement. In return for this kindness, said persons work in the temple and are required to maintain a peaceful existence. Each faith has a few holidays to celebrate certain historical or religious milestones. Rituals are performed during regular services for each faith. How is religion expressed personally? Each faith can be practiced personally by spending time in prayer or meditation, lighting candles, setting up a shrine, reading texts, doing good deeds, wearing the sigil or other relics, helping others, and so on. What stories are important to the belief system? Well, all faiths agree on creation. The gods work together to create Cerulia, and then gave it life and free will when they no longer needed Cerulia for themselves. Religions are not viewed as rivals to one another, but more so an attunement to one's personal belief system or values. So it's very personal. The general perception on the different faiths are as follows. I identify with this faith over that faith, so I'm going to follow it instead. Although that faith is good too, I just identify with this faith more. That's the general perception of faith in Cerulia. Zealots or extremists are the ones who feel this faith is better or more correct over that faith. Those other faiths are wrong or inferior. Of course, that is the nature of someone who is a zealot or an extremist. So that's just an example of things I would want to know as a player character about these faiths. So I answered those questions for myself, and then I took that and started to build the framework around what kind of gods I wanted. I wanted a god for the people, or the blue-collared people, Cthulhu. I wanted a god that was more nature-based, and I wanted a god that was had dominion over these two moons and the tides and that side of nature or magic. So that's where I came up with those three. And then the Celestial Accord is just kind of an amalgam of different ideas from different sources within, reading up on solars and how they work, and just what would that look like if there was a panel of lesser deities. Not that solars are lesser deities, they're more like angels than anything, but that's kind of like the vein in which I think of them. So that's what I did. So maybe that helps you. Maybe this video helps you conceptualize and come up with your own thoughts about how to create your own deity systems in your campaign. But that's what I did, and when it came down to session 0, I introduced these faiths just like I did in this video to the players at my table, and I gave them the freedom to choose one of the faiths if that's what they wanted. But there are also all the other pantheons in D&D that I opened up to my campaign. So if somebody was more familiar with Umberlee or Merkel or any of the other deities in the D&D pantheon, I allowed that. It's just they're kind of viewed as minor belief systems because it's foreign to them. And so it opens the door to allow that, but it also, privatizes it and makes it make sense for the story. So that's just how I justified it. Those are our gods in our homebrew world of Cerulia. Keep coming back here on Tuesdays for now, as we're going to continue to build out our homebrew series. If you're interested in watching us stream our homebrew campaign, just let us know in the comments. Be sure to like and follow us. It's the way that you can support the channel. Just a like would be great. A share would be another. And we'll keep dropping content so long as you keep viewing it. So hopefully this is helping you out there. Until we see you again, keep rolling those dice, and we'll see you at the table.